Lesson 6.2 Distance equals rate times time lab. What is d equals r times t? That's the distance formula. It defines the relationship between distance, rate, and time. Distance is equal to rate times time, so if you multiply the rate of travel times the length of time, we can determine the distance that we traveled. Or if we know the distance and the amount of time it took, we can calculate the rate. Or if we know the distance and the rate, we can determine how long it will take. Trying to find the distance giving rate and time is easy. If we traveled 40 miles per hour for 6 hours and 20 minutes, how far did we go? This one is going to take a little bit of calculation. First, remember our formula is distance is equal to rate times time. Rate is in miles per hour and time is in hours. We have 6 hours and 20 minutes. Well, there are 60 minutes an hour, so that gives us a ratio of 20 to 60 to get our part. So if you divide those, you get 0.3 repeating, or 2 over 6, 1 over 3. So our distance is going to be our rate of 40 miles per hour times our time of 6.3 hours. And then if we multiply 6.3 times 40, we can determine that we can travel 252 miles in this amount of time. If we travel 65 miles per hour for 18 minutes, how far have we gone? Again, distance is equal to rate times time. Our rate is going to be our miles per hour, and our time is going to be 18 minutes, which is 18 minutes over 60 minutes. And if we divide that, we're going to get 0.3 hours. So our distance will be our rate of 65 miles per hour times our time of 0.3 hours to give us a distance of 19.5 miles. If we're trying to find our rate and we know our distance and our time, for example, we travel for 275 miles and it takes 5 hours and 15 minutes. How fast are we going? We use the same formula. Our rate is unknown. Our distance is 275 and our time is 5 hours and 15 minutes. We need to figure out what decimal this is. So we do 15 divided by 60 and we will get 5.25. Our distance is 275, our time is 5.25, and our rate is unknown. We'll divide both sides by 5.25 to solve for r. And when we solve this, we will find that 52.39 is our rate. So we were traveling 52.4 miles per hour. Now another way we could do this is to arrange this before we actually plug in the numbers. If we take our distance equals rate times time and divide both sides by t, our t's will cancel and we can get that r is equal to distance divided by time. So you could plug in here, plug in distance and time, and solve the equation as well. Here we're traveling a half a mile and it takes 10 minutes. How fast are we traveling? So our distance is 1/2, which is 0.5, and our time is 10 minutes, which is 10 over 60, which is 0.16 repeating hours. Now we can use our rate is equal to distance divided by time, or we can use distance is equal to rate times time, whichever method you prefer. Here we'll have 0.5 divided by 0.17 because we're going to round it. And we get a rate of 2.94 miles per hour. Or we could do 0.5 is equal to 0.17 times r. Divide both sides by 0.17 and you come up with the same answer. Okay, here's one that's a little bit more challenging. We're going to travel 50 yards in 10 seconds. And we want to know how fast we were traveling in miles per hour. This is going to require us to know how many yards are in a mile. There are 1,064 yards in a mile. We've gone 50 yards. So if I take 50 and I divide it by 1,064, I get 0.05 miles. And now I have 10 seconds. And I want to convert that to hours. So I do 10 seconds divided by 60 seconds in a minute. And that gives me 0.16 repeating minutes, which I'll divide by 60 minutes in an hour, 0.0028 hours. So I'm traveling 0.05 miles in 0.0028 hours. Distance is equal to rate times time, or rate is equal to distance divided by time. Here I get 0.05 is equal to 0.0028 r. Here I'll get r is equal to 0.05 divided by 0.0028. And in both instances, I'm doing that same division. To get that r is 17.86 miles per hour. Again, whether you use the straight distance equals rate times time or the modified version of the formula, it's still the same equation. If we are trying to find our time given distance and rate, we want to take a trip of 735 miles and we're going to average 65 miles per hour. How long will that take? We can solve for time and get that time is equal to distance divided by rate, and solve this way. Distance is 735 miles and our rate is 65 miles per hour. So we'll do 735 divided by 65 and we will have 11.31 hours. If we plan to take a trip across country of 2,352 miles and we're going to average 70 miles per hour, here I'm going to just use the straight distance equals rate times time formula. I have 2352 is equal to 70 times t. Divide both sides by 70. 2352 divided by 70 is equal to 36.2 hours.